I've been a nerd. I sit in front of a computer for a lot of my life, and got wider around the middle and said I wanted to do something about that. I actually took a break from technology for a while and worked as a personal trainer, strangely enough, with Olympic athletes and Hollywood actors for a while. Went back into tech and got wider around the middle again. And during all this time, I've had a body fat scale, which, how many of you are familiar with body fat scales? So a lot of you. So, but for those of you who are not, a scale with a couple of electrodes that uses bioelectric impedance to send an electrical impulse from one leg to another and measure the time that it takes to get there. The electricity passes faster through muscle than it does through fat, so you can estimate what percentage of body fat somebody is. I've had one of those scales for a long time, and being a trainer and knowing something about these things, or former trainer, I still don't know what the heck to make of that scale when I get on it every day. If my weight is down 2 pounds and my body fat percentage is down 1%, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. And it varies a lot every day. So I've put those numbers into Excel spreadsheets over the years, or just not paid attention to it, and looked at the data in lots of different ways. But what I've always wanted is to do something a little more rigorous with taking daily measurements and trying to track what things are influencing the measurement. What can I do to make sort of more clear data out of that? And maybe more importantly, what can I do to influence my own behavior and make progress rather than to just have kind of useless numbers? So the first step in that was to just get consistent with the daily tracking and have enough smoothing out of the variation from day to day that I could see a clear trend with things going up or down. And I finally got with a group of people to say, let's build a web page and an app so that everybody could do this, and let's start doing it for ourselves first. And so we've been running the experiment over the last about 6 months of putting in our own data and getting from a web prototype to an iPhone prototype. And while I was standing here, you might have heard the microphone buzzing because I have my phone in the pocket. I just got a text that says our app went live in the iTunes store today. So these are screenshots from the iPhone app that I'm now using to every morning get up and put in my body fat percentage and my weight from the scale, which numbers by themselves don't mean anything, but this dashboard here that says, I wanted to split things into 2 parts. I said, look, percent and weight don't mean anything to me, but my lean body weight, which is to say my muscle and bone density and everything else, if that's going up, that's a good thing. And if that's going down, that's probably not a good thing. And my fat weight, if that's going down, that's probably a good thing. If that's going up, it's not such a good thing. So in addition to just having the data and being able to sort of smooth things out to get rid of the daily variation and to know what the trend is, I wanted to change what numbers I was looking at. And let me flip over to a chart. So this is my live data, and that's my lean weight, and that's my fat weight, and this is over a period of about 6 months. So I'm going from November when I started entering this. Actually, November is when I had it on paper. It was about December, January that I started entering into the website that we were prototyping. You can see that I wasn't taking a whole lot of measurements. It wasn't every day. I maybe had some on paper that I didn't put in the computer. But once I got to the point that I had an iPhone prototype, it was really easy. Because the first thing I do every morning is grab my iPhone and run over to the scale. Well, I grab my iPhone, and then whatever else I do, if I run to the scale, I've got it so I can enter the data. And it remembers from day to day what was my weight last time. So I've got a certain sense of immediate feedback by flipping a little scroller. I have to move it as far as my weight went up or down, and as far as my body fat went up or down. But the white dots are the actual calculation. If I just take the percent and multiply it by the weight, then I know what the raw value is for lean weight and fat weight. And that varies so much even from day to day that I can't really make heads or tails of it. The dashed line is a moving average, and the best other software that I'd seen people using to track this was using a moving average, and you can see that that's still pretty noisy data. And there's jags up and down that I don't really know what they mean. But once we fitted it with a third order polynomial, then it became really clear, like, oh, I can see where that January 1st New Year's resolution took me from gaining fat to losing fat. And while the curve has smoothed some over time, at places where I had sort of started to make more or less of a difference and the curve started to change, I saw that at the time. Then the sort of larger trends picked that up. At the same time, I saw the lean going up. So I not only cleaned up the data enough to sort of see a clear trend, and I not only changed what I was looking at from sort of raw numbers that are a little less meaningful to numbers that made sense to me, and I knew feedback-wise, was that a good thing or a bad thing? But I actually motivated myself to keep better track of the numbers by putting it into a device that I was going to have at the time that I was using it anyway. So I think that's what I wanted to show you. What questions would you like to ask about that?
Well, you have that little device that you hold to tell you what your fat percentage.
Oh, the scale. I actually stand on it.
Oh, you stand on it. Okay, because I want that to use like for the gym or the hold.
Okay, yes.
So where are these devices? Yeah.
Sure. So the question was about the nature of the devices themselves. So there are actually a lot of ways to measure body fat, but this common one that we're sort of thinking is most common here, most accessible to people, is bioelectric impedance. And there are devices that you can hold and will send the impulse from hand to hand. The device that that I'm most familiar with is the one that I stand on, which also gives me my weight at the same time. So I have both pieces of data to input. They're readily available. You can go to Blood Bath and Beyond and buy one, or you can order them off of Amazon. And they range in price from $30 on up to a couple $100 if you want one that's Wi-Fi connected and automatically tweets out your weight.
So when you look at your data in the morning and see the report, do you change your idea for how you're going to spend the day, or do you react to that data?
It's a good, yeah, the question is, do I change what I'm going to do based on what I see in the morning? And that's a great question. It's definitely helped modify my behavior in general and in a way that feels healthy for me. After making that New Year's resolution and tracking things here, I'm feeling like it's a lot healthier. Like I'm making slow, steady progress, and I'm mindful of that. So it's okay if I go over there and eat a couple of pieces of cheese. I'm not obsessed about having to do all the weight that I want to lose right now, because I see that I'm slowly going in the right direction. Whereas before, I probably tended to be a little more obsessive about it and then burn out. So I wouldn't, now in May, I'm still watching what I eat and making progress, and I'm still going to the gym and making progress, and I'm feeling like that's encouraged, but rather than discouraged by not enough progress or seeing something that I don't like in an overall weight number or a body fat percentage number that I can't make much change in over the next week or two.
With that amount of variability, how significant are the trends that you're mapping?
Well, we've got a confidence, I'm sorry, how significant are the trends that we're doing? You can see the yellow around the black line. That's a 95% confidence interval. We ran about 50 different statistical ways of looking at raw numbers from quite a few of us that were beta testing this. Not a huge sample, but it was really clear that we could correlate things like started going to the gym or started eating a diet with the trends that we were seeing with this, and that everything else was just too noisy, that we said, we don't even know what that means.
Why is the data so noisy?
Why is the data so noisy? For a couple, sure, it's all over the place. Some of the noises, if any of you stand on a regular scale every day, that's up or down a pound or two from day to day. You didn't lose that weight, you peed it out, or you didn't evacuate your bowels fully, or whatever. That's part of the variance, but it's worse with the bioelectric impedance, because with that impulse, it's a very fine measurement. So there's probably some measurement error in the device itself, but it's very sensitive to things like your hydration status. So if you're not drinking enough water, or you're doing something that dehydrates you, or if you're exercising too much, or even if you took a shower before instead of doing it before the room was humid, you might see it, or you were sweating. You might see it in all those kinds of things. So we're looking at how do I get rid of the things that it's measuring that are actually different from day to day, and how do I figure out how to just sort of blow off the variance, and over enough samples, and over about 7 days, it looks like we get something significant with these trend lines.
Let's take the question from the back there. Say that person's standing up. Yeah.
Let me try and summarize the question. Actually, it sounds like two questions. One is, am I familiar with the hacker's diet, which, for those of you who don't know, is just the sense of, if I weigh this much and I want to weigh that much, I'll just draw, and I say I want to do it in this amount of time, I'll just draw a line between them. And if I weigh myself every day and I weigh over that line, then I need to eat nothing but carrots that day. And if I weigh under that line, I can weigh whatever I want. And if I just follow that, I'll get to where I want to be. An important problem with the hacker's diet is the same problem as people doing something like tracking BMI. Tracking BMI is worse than useless. How many of you are familiar with how BMI is calculated? So a lot of you know that it's take somebody's height and take their weight and run it through a formula and get a number. If two males weigh 220, actually anybody weighs 225 and is 6 feet tall, they have an identical BMI. It doesn't matter that one of those guys is a linebacker, who's a professional football player, who's at the top of his fitness peak, and the other one is a professional beer drinker who does nothing on Sundays but watch that guy, and he's got a better bigger than I do. Those are both the same BMI. If the only way to change your BMI if you're 6 feet tall is to grow or shrink your height, or grow or shrink your weight. Your muscle doesn't matter, your fat doesn't matter, so your health doesn't matter in BMI. So the hacker's diet says, we're going to change your weight, but without respect to how healthy are you doing it? Are you maintaining your muscle, or are you actually losing muscle with that diet? Is it fat that you want to lose that you're losing with that diet? Your other question was about how do we know things like moving average? In this case, it's just using, actually, I left the moving average dotted line on here. It's not in the software that we just shipped, and I have it there for illustrative purposes. We looked at a whole bunch of different lines. We actually just put the third order polynomial, the black line that we use, in what we show the users. Was there?
You know what? Let's take the rest of the questions offline because
Perfect.
we're out of time. And what is the website?
What's the website? So the website isn't you can't use the app online yet, but it should go up soon, and you can go now to the blog at LeanScale.com, and we're going to make the website free for anybody to use the software, and we charge for the iPhone app that was just released tonight, which you can find in the iTunes store at LeanScale.
Okay,
Thanks for asking that question.
Thank you.